Now, the North East, as we know, has a rich history full of stories. Keith Spedding is one of a group of people dedicated to using technology to tell the stories specific to North Shields. North Shields Heritology brings stories of the Fish Quay to life using technology like virtual reality, immersive sound and augmented reality. Well, like everyone else, they've had to rethink how they do things in lockdown and come up with an audio drama about a Victorian scavenger called Edward Jennings. And through the magic of the internet, it had quite an impact. I caught up with Keith and asked him to tell me more.
The Edward Jennings story is one of those little-known stories from North Shields about a road sweeper. They were known as scavengers at the time. He worked for the council in the 19th century, the back end of the 19th century. But his story goes back further than that, and our researchers have done a terrific job finding out the full backstory of Edward Jennings. We've used all local talent to tell this story. Our trustee Dave Young and another volunteer, Sue Miller, a local author, wrote the script for this short drama. John Grundy, who I'm sure you know, also came on board to do the historical narration for us. And we used a terrific local sound engineer, Corey Livesey, a great sound designer, Matthew Tuckey, who's also local. And we recorded it at Blank Studio in Newcastle, who provided terrific COVID-safe facilities for us.
Low Town, North Shields, the street of all nations, hardly wide enough for a cart to pass along, a strange place to wander and study our fellow creatures. You can hardly hear yourself think sometimes above the din of rumbling carts and tramping hobnail boots, butchers, mongers, bread shops, the brawling and squalling of everyday life. And everywhere is the stench of fish and the river.
I mean, Edward was the son of a tenant farmer originally in County Mayo in Ireland, and they were evicted from their property, and that was a common thing back then. Edward, when he was a young man, suffered that fate. And in order to survive, he ran away and joined the British Army as what was called a Rough Rider in the Bengal Artillery, and he was shipped off to India to fight in the Indian Mutiny. And it was there that, for an act of bravery in saving a British lieutenant from an attack by locals, he literally galloped into this crowd on his own and drove off these attackers and rescued this lieutenant, and for his bravery he was awarded the Victoria Cross.
Jennings found himself in a narrow street. At the far end, a British lieutenant was backed against a wall, with a group of men wielding swords against him. Without hesitation, he galloped forward and hacked at the assailants until they fled in panic. He then dismounted and lifted the badly wounded officer onto his horse and took him to the medical tent.
How did you come across the story then, Keith?
Well, as I say, we have a great team of researchers working for us. We've got 10 in total, but it was really Dave Young who dug into the backstory for Edward, all the way back to his early life in a place called Ballinrobe in County Mayo. And then just looking through local paper cuttings, local history records and so on, to put together the chronology of what actually happened to Edward.
So you've teamed up with a couple of people, haven't you? I know you've teamed up with someone that I've talked to in the past, Mickey McGregor.
Yes. We've worked with Mickey and his partner Harriet before, and they brought in another guy called Pete Ross, and the three of them took the parts of the people in the play. They were terrific.
Robert, ninepence or a shilling a cup.
Black pudding's fresh this morning. Nice black pudding, Henny, eh? Fatting, and it's good and heady.
Geese, £0.50 or 3 shillings each.
It was a terrific experience, actually, because for us as a charity, it's something we'd never done before. We'd never been involved in recording or doing anything like this.
Yeah.
And it was a really great experience. And I think, and I hope, the actors enjoyed it as much as we did. But to see the process and to be taken through it, certainly by our sound engineer at the time, Corey, kept us on the right track. And just to see the whole thing coming together bit by bit. And then when our sound designer, Matthew, added his magic at the end with sound effects and so on, and the music is great as well, it just blew us away, to be honest. It was terrific. There's a real good postscript to the end of this as well. we had just put the thing out to say we were ready to launch it when we got a message from a lady in Leeds who said she was the great-great-granddaughter of Edward Jennings.
Never, really?
Yes, and she was by chance watching a programme about a chap who had found a VC, a Victoria Cross, in the mud on the banks of the River Thames, I think. And she thought, you know what, I must look up my ancestor. She threw Edward Jennings into a search engine and we came up. It was really that coincidental. And she contacted us. And one of the really nice parts is, or not for Edward particularly, but for his act of bravery, he would have been made an officer could he have been able to read or write. He was illiterate.
Right.
Sam Collier, his great-great-granddaughter, is the head teacher of a primary school in Leeds, and she has a special interest in literacy.
Really?
And since then, we've had others come out. We've had a great-great-granddaughter contact us. It's beginning to get a bit like...
it's like, who do you think you are? Isn't it, though?
Yeah. Sam actually wrote to us after she'd listened to the play. She said, I thought the piece was just beautiful. It made me feel sad and proud of all he went through, and ultimately makes me feel proud of becoming a head teacher.
Told you it was a good story, didn't I? And if you want to listen to it, you want to listen to that drama, it's on the North East Heritologists website, heritologists.com. Easy enough, we'll just stick it in a search engine. It's BBC Radio Newcastle, the sound of the North East.